your host, Dr. Colleen Norris, and I am a network spinal chiropractor and intuitive healer. And I am doing this series, inspired to do this series, where I'm interviewing patients that have gone through a course of treatment in my office around their nervous system, around upgrading their nervous system, up leveling their nervous system. And I want to just bring these stories to you because it's inspired me in so many ways working with these amazing women. And so we have here today Tammy Hickey. Now, I believe that Tammy Hickey is the perfect guest for this Aligned and Alive because through the course of the last 10 months, almost 10 months, she's been in the office, and I have just seen her come alive in the most beautiful ways. And she's going to share what's transpired. And now her business, she is the founder and creator of Rebel Style. So, Tammy, welcome to the show. Welcome to the episode.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me. Gosh, what an honor to come and share my story. That's really just been so transformative in my life. So,
Awesome. Well, why don't you start off with let's start with just giving us like a little bit of like who you are and what you do and tell us about Rebel Style.
yeah. So I'm Tammy Hickey. I'm local to New England in New Hampshire, and I have had a 30 plus year career in human resources, and that had served me well for a really, really long time. But somewhere along the way, really just started to feel like something was missing, a deeper purpose. And so searched, for many different things. To find the answer to that, and tried many different things to find the answer to that. And as part of that, became a certified image consultant. So I do style and color. And I've been doing that for a few years. But as I was actually recovering from breast cancer in 2020, really suffered a lot kind of physically. Physically, I'm in a good place and on the other side of active cancer. However, my body, just as a result of the treatment, just really sort of suffered through a few different things, not to mention, kind of physically, emotionally, mentally. And so, really, kind of put my business on the back burner and, started to really focus on my healing. And so for me, 2024, my intention was really to heal. And as the typical type A person, was trying all the things. And I
Mm.
was, anything from trying veganism to hormone supplements to, you name it, I tried it. Dry brushing, saltwater baths, like all anybody that said it could help to heal me hormonally, because breast cancer is a hormone cancer, I
Mm.
tried it and just became more and more frustrated. So got to a place where I needed to I needed to find answers, but I knew the answers weren't outside of myself, they were within myself. So came across the work that you do, and knew that it was the answer to my prayers. And so that's how we got started. And it wasn't until through that process that really my true purpose and the launch of Rebel Style came to be. So happy to share more about that. But I wanted to provide like the backstory about what brought me
Yeah.
to you, because I was definitely
Yes.
at a place of burnout, physically, emotionally, mentally, and just feeling like my body was the enemy. And I didn't know how to shift out of that. So,
Wow. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing this. I'm sure that there are people watching that if they can't resonate personally with your story, they may know someone in their life that they deeply care about that may have gone through something like this. So thank you for showing up and really sharing
mm,
um, what you go, just even just a little piece of what you go through and kind of where you were when you came into the office.
yeah, I feel like, a lot of people, of course, when you're going through active cancer treatment, that takes over your life. And you know, and as it should, the focus is really on healing. But I think what's really, really underestimated is the effect that that can
Mm,
have on way beyond the physical. And
wow.
that's what I came to realize is that I didn't know how, nor had the tools, nor had received any of the support to work through some of those things emotionally, mentally, and some of those things that my body was still continuing to hold on to even after active cancer treatment.
Wow. That's just
Mm.
it's so powerful that you're giving a voice to this because I can imagine that maybe this is something that kind of just goes under the rug, is swept under the
Oh,
rug
yeah.
of right like,
Mhm.
oh, you've gone through the treatment and you're cancer free, which is incredible,
Amazing. Yep.
amazing, and what you're left with after that, after all of that stress and everything,
Yeah.
I can just imagine how intense that might be.
For sure. And also there's a part of you too that feels like, well, I am cancer free and my hair has grown back in. I don't look like I have cancer. I don't, like my reports come back saying I'm cancer free, but why do I still feel like this? Why
Yeah,
do I feel like I can't get my life back to where it was? And that's all I wanted. Like I looked like I was the same, but I was
yeah.
not the same.
Wow. I've got chills. I have chills all over you. You like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I can feel in my heart that. So, can you give what didn't feel the same for you, like internally?
Yeah. Well, I just felt like almost when you go through a traumatic experience and you're like, I know my life's never going to be the same again,
Mhm.
but I don't know how else to be. Like, what does it even mean now? And for some, that could be a traumatic event, like whether it's going through a divorce or, God forbid,
Mm,
like losing a child or something like that, that something as significant as going through cancer, it sort of felt like, I don't know, the way in which I used to operate and live my life felt like it just no longer made sense. Like it felt
mm.
futile. Like I'm just going back and doing the same things I used to do. Like that doesn't feel right. And
Yeah. Wow.
and there were cues in my body and just cues mentally around. It just had this sense of who am I and what is this all supposed to mean? And I started questioning things that I never really questioned before. And it's just
Mhm.
something that you aren't quite who you were, but you don't quite know where you're going. So you're like in this like limbo land. And I am not one that loves to be in limbo. I mean, who does? I
Right. Yeah.
do not like
Mm.
I like clarity. So I was
Yes.
like,
Yes.
I felt like I was going insane. I really
Wow.
did. I tried therapy. Like I said, I was trying to do like all the things to bring anything back into alignment, anything that I could get my hands on.
Mm.
You name it, I've tried it, and nothing worked
Wow. Okay.
until I found you.
Oh.
For real.
I feel so blessed to have just watched your journey. So now let's go into
Yeah.
first of all, thank you for setting that background. I think that's really powerful for
Mhm.
people to know where you were before you came into the office. And
Yeah.
now let's go into okay, so you come into the office and
Yeah.
then we'll get to Rebel Style being born. So
Yeah.
we'll get to that point because that's a really beautiful part of the story. But um so you first came into the office. Talk to us about what did you notice with treatments and what was coming up for you at some of the things that maybe you had to end up facing or you chose to face that changed things?
Yeah, I remember first coming to you, and I came to you probably with the same sense of desperation that I tried everything prior to that, right? I was sort of like, okay, like what do I do? What's the checklist? What are the 10 things? Like what's my path to healing? And you were so great with me, it was like you have to just allow. And I was like, well, what are the steps? How do I allow? Like, what does that look like? Does that mean 5 minutes of quiet time every morning? Like, what are you saying?
Yes.
You were so patient with me. And and I'm sure you were thinking like, oh, isn't she cute?
Oh,
And I
you're not
just
alone in that. That's very common. So
right.
go ahead, continue.
Yeah. And that's what I was looking for in the very beginning, but I just like I said, I need to trust to this process. And it took a little bit, like uh, like weeks coming
Hmm.
to you faithfully. I knew something was happening. I could feel a shift in my body. I could feel a shift in my energy, but I couldn't name it. Like I would come home from a
Hmm.
treat, my husband would be like, "How was it?" And I was like, "Good." And he's like, "Well, like how?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know what to say." Right? I don't know. But I noticed a shift. And then once we started to like really go deep into the layers of really where my trauma was coming from and what my body was holding on to, that's where things really started to shift. Whether it was, I remember this one exercise, I was telling a girlfriend about it this weekend, um, where it was bringing different parts of me around the campfire, right?
Yes.
Like all the parts of myself that maybe I hadn't really given a whole lot of time and attention to because she was like deeply rooted in those inner parts of myself. Whether it was that like little girl who struggled to feel like she didn't fit in, or
Mm.
or that like, you know, bitchy girl who like kind of was judgy,
Mm.
or was that rebel who like hates rules,
Mhm.
but it conflicted with who she was, who she allowed other people to see because she's a good girl, because being a good
Yes.
girl is what gets me love and attention. So it was like all those parts of myself
Yes.
that I had just really pushed down that started to come to the surface. And that's when I started to feel a shift in the work.
Wow. Yeah, and everyone is so different. Some
Yep.
people will notice shifts right away. Some people like what you're saying, because I think I remember even at the like 2 month mark, I remember a moment or like a point where it was like where you're like, I don't know if this is working or not, or and I was just like hang in there. I know I just hang in there a little bit longer.
Yes.
And if I remember correctly, it wasn't soon after that that things really started to unwind and
Yes.
really shift for you. So it sounds like one of the one of the main things, if I'm hearing you correctly, is was a bit of an inner conflict between maybe some truer parts of you and some parts
Mhm.
of you that were maybe like a survival pattern of like people pleasing that had served you maybe at one point in your life, but was like kind of hindering you right now.
100%. Yes. It was sort of this, feeling that, and I've always kind of known this about myself, that there were many, many different parts to me, different dimensions to me, but I was very, very selective about who I allowed to see those parts that I considered to be
Hmm.
like more dark or less acceptable.
Mm.
Of course, my husband sees all those, probably more of those than he does the, the sweet things. However, very, very selective about who I allowed to see that part of myself in my life. And then once I started to like really bring those to the surface and appreciate those parts of myself, I started to allow those parts of me to come up on a more regular basis. And what I
Mm.
found was that I really, really loved those parts of myself. And once I let
Wow.
go of, and it's a work in progress, like I'm still very much like at my core, I've lived for 55 years believing that in order to receive love, I needed to be a good girl. So that
Mhm.
people pleasing component is deeply seated. And I've made a lot of progress in that area, and where I've allowed some of those, like, what I would see as, and not even that they're less desirable, but that challenge and that pushback and that say, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't feel right,
Mm,
you know, to come to the surface. And I actually like, I love that about myself. And I secretly have for a really, really long time, but I kept a
mhm.
lid on her. And now she's starting to like kind of go crazy a little bit. Um,
Uh-huh.
and I love it. I love it.
And so do you feel like through, um the unwind, so just a little bit of a, if no one has ever experienced network spinal chiropractic, it's an unwinding. So
Yeah.
we're unwinding the nervous system from patterns, from beliefs, from experiences from the past, so that what's not true can fall away and what's true can rise to the surface. Do you feel like that played a part in you landing in the place where you could really, where you created Rebel Style, where you were able to kind of like land on your your way forward?
Yeah. Absolutely. I feel like that gave me kind of the permission to first and foremost like explore those parts of myself. And I should
Mhm.
also, it's probably also important to mention here that while we were going through treatment, I was also doing some work in the subconscious space through
Yes.
the anchored program too, uh,
Yes.
to go through and become certified in subconscious reprogramming. And honestly, those two things together were such a compliment, because while
Yes.
I don't think I would have been ready to do the subconscious reprogramming if it didn't feel safe in my body and in my nervous system to deal with what
Yes.
was coming up. And so I think it
Yes.
was really truly like the combination of those two things. One, like what was so key about the work I was doing with you is that it produced some safety in my body to a little bit at a time start to really
Mhm.
explore those more true, authentic parts of who I am that,
Mhm.
like, I it would have scared me. It wouldn't have felt safe to do it, to even like explore that in a neurological sense. So
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because now that's one of the cornerstones as well. That subconscious reprogramming work is now one of the cornerstones of Rebel Style.
yes.
So let's talk about, let's kind of walk into, so as you're kind of like coming into these like exploring these parts of you that maybe before you thought were bad or wrong in some way, or maybe they were blocked because of the good girl was kind of like in the driver's seat. So as you start to explore and
Mhm.
really start to bring acceptance and maybe even love to these parts of you,
Yeah.
walk us through what started happening then in relation to like how you felt about yourself and then where your business started.
Yeah, I mean, I really felt like I started to once I started to kind of yes, bring those parts of myself to the surface and really like give her a place at the table, give her a place around that fire to like
Mhm.
give her a voice. And I started to like gain confidence with that. And it became so clear that my journey and everything that I'm going through right here is absolutely on purpose and for a purpose. I knew that there's so many others out there like me who struggle, and maybe it's generational, maybe there's all probably all sorts of theories as to why that's the case. I mean, you look at the history of women, and we're finding our voices more now for sure, but that hasn't always been the case, right? So there's a lot of different contributing factors, but for me, like that was very much a part of like my own healing. That became super clear that I can't not like help women with this. Like it's not an option for me not to
Mhm.
allow and create the space for other women to do the same. So I mentioned I had been at that point, I got certified back in 2020, actually while I was going through cancer treatment, in style and
Mhm.
color. But I like those parts, like fashion's always been super fun for me, But what really truly lights me up is the component that I always did with my style clients around identity, because
Mm,
it's always been my philosophy, and style by color, which is where I got my certification from, that style isn't about rules, but style is a reflection of who you are on the inside. So
yes.
to first get clear about, what somebody's gifts are, what they bring to the table, their identity component, and then build a style around that. So it was like probably 25% identity and 75% style. I was like, oh, no, no, we need to shift that. And we need to be like 75% identity, and style's just the icing on the cake, man. Like, because for me, like, I
Mm,
don't care what you wear or how you present yourself. But if you're not being your true, authentic self, and you're not allowing all parts of you to come to the table, then you like, it that's a tragedy.
yes. And I love, oh my gosh, I just, first of all, I love your passion behind it. And I love that you're the embodiment of it, right?
Mm,
Because it's like if you would have, before going to on this journey, if you would have just said, before doing this work that you've done, if you were
yeah,
just like, yeah, be your true authentic self and have your style reflect that without having done that journey yourself.
yes, yes. It's empty words, well-meaning, well-meaning,
Yes, of
well-intended,
course.
for
Of
sure,
course.
and I feel like there is a lot of noise out there about this, because who wouldn't argue with that? Like inside out beauty, nobody would argue with that,
Right.
about that. But people like me who are like, "Well, how do I even do that? Like, what does that even look like?" And
Yes.
and like, what you're doing and what the subconscious work is doing is giving them the tools.
Yes.
That's the solution. You've got to start in here though before you can even,
Yes.
attempt out here, for sure.
And I love that you're the embodiment of that because you've gone through that process on your own. And I think
Mhm.
that that really makes a difference because there are so many options now. There's so many options for people that are doing work with style and identity and stuff like
Absolutely.
that, right?
Mhm.
But
Yep.
it's like people I think now at I think at the most in our history are really attuned to who's actually walking their talk,
Yes.
who's actually doing the work, and
Yes.
that's more important, I believe, than ever for our success and calling in those people.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of what I say too in Rebel Style, now that my brand is out there in the world, like, if you are looking for color and trends, like, I know some really fabulous people. That's not
Mhm.
me. That
Yeah.
is not me.
Yeah.
But if you're looking to like
Yeah.
completely change your mindset, how you perceive yourself, and like really come to terms with like all the dimensions and the parts of yourself that make you you, then like, let's hang, because
Yes.
we're going deep. But
Yes.
not everybody wants to do that. And that's okay. That's okay. Yeah.
Totally. That's
Mhm.
just like some people wanna have a chiropractor that goes and does the cracking, you
Sure.
know, thank
Yep.
you and leave, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that's
Absolutely.
not me.
Right.
So it's similar of like, this is
Mhm.
why we do this so that people can get to know us and what we're about, and then they can say opt in or opt out of
100%.
what's calling to them.
Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you this: what do you feel like? So within the context of like the work we did together, what do
Yeah.
you think is one of the biggest things that you had to face? That was the most important thing for you to face in order to kind of really get to where you were today in the context of our work together, you and I. So if like someone's watching this and they're considering, you
Hmm.
know, what would you say to that?
I think probably like, aside from like the exploration of the different parts of me, I think the one common theme that I feel like I'm still getting, like I'm still on the journey on, is that the answers I'm looking for are not outside of myself. The
Yes.
answers I'm looking for are already within me. It's just
Yes.
learning to like lean in and listen and be patient, and trust yourself, like that. That's probably like a number one.
So it's like that inner authority of like you being that authority
Yeah.
leading
Yeah.
yourself.
Right. And for somebody who's a good girl, like
Mm,
that's not how I've operated my entire life. It's been,
right.
influential people in my life, like my parents, my bosses, my friends, my pastor, like all those things. I looked and put so much stock there, and it did not serve me well. I mean,
Yes.
again, meaning, and I grew up in like a super loving home. That wasn't it at all. But
Mm,
I what I missed was looking within myself and trusting my own instincts,
yes.
um, to really, kind of lead and guide my life, and trust my intuition, and trust what my kind of inner being was telling me.
Yeah, and I feel like and like you said, it's a journey. It's not like we flip a light switch and we're like,
Oh yeah,
here
I
to
am not
here
like
and then we're there,
healed.
right? But I will say this, in witnessing you and watching you,
Mm.
um, the photo shoot, I
Ah,
feel like the photo shoot and the photos that came for that
ah,
are a beautiful physical
mm,
representation of the shifts that you had made in that authority and really owning these parts of yourself that maybe you had locked away. What would
yeah.
you say to that?
Oh, 100%. I had a vision for what I wanted it to be, and it far surpassed my vision, for so many different reasons. Just the experience in and of itself of doing the photo shoot for Rebel Style, and of course, the amazing like branding person and photographer that I worked with, that caught my vision and helped to bring it to life.
Mhm.
It was just this beautiful, and I don't think I would have been 6 months ago ready for that experience. Um,
Yes.
and I'm not even sure I was ready for the experience when it happened, but I leaned in. It was uncomfortable. It was hard. It was like, oh my gosh, who do I think I am? Right? Who do I
Mhm.
think I am to like really claim this like amazing, strong, powerful part of myself? Because it's powerful, and own that. But I did, and I leaned in, and oh my gosh, like it is the epitome of what my transformation has been in a visual form.
1,000,000%. And I will say, so in the show notes, you're going to have, I'm linking your website.
Awesome.
So
Mhm.
if you're watching, you've got to go check out Tammy's website. You've got to go, at the bare minimum to check out the photos because the photos are just, they're jaw dropping. They're stunning, not just physically, but like the energy. You can just,
Yeah.
it's captured the essence of it. Just to me, it's like a woman liberated, a woman in her deepest place of celebrating all the parts of herself. That's what I see when I look at those
Mhm.
photos. And
Mhm.
I was just blown away. Not surprised, but blown away too.
And why I had that vision, PS, because it wasn't about me, but it was about, if you like, it was a call to action for all of us, because
Mhm.
deep seated within each one of us is that rebel that we just need to invite to come to life. And that's the
Mm.
journey. Like, that's what Rebel Style is all about, bringing that journey to life. It's not going to look like what it looked like for me, but it's going to be exactly what it needs to, and what it should look like for the women that I serve.
Beautiful. I love it. Okay, so I feel like we could talk all day, but I want
Yeah.
to just land with two last things. So,
Mhm.
first of them, what would you say if there's someone on watching now that is considering doing some work in my office or on the fence about it? What would you say to that person or someone who's watching that's contemplating doing some of this nervous system work?
I mean, I have told everybody possible about this work that I know, like, is ready for something more in their life. So, if in fact, like, anybody listening is like, even has a question, like, could this be for me? Like, reach out to you directly, because
Mm.
you you're you're not going to know the answers right when you step in, but if you're feeling this is an opportunity to lean into your intuition and trust the
Mhm.
guidance that it's giving you, if you're feeling a little bit of a pull, that's your answer. Do it.
I love it. I love it. Okay, and then to wrap up, so let's say some people that are watching right now that are like, I want to learn more about your work and what you're doing. How can they find you? Anything more that you'd want to say about that?
Yeah, so definitely the website, but I also like I hang out a lot on Instagram. So I love to do Instagram stories and whatnot. So DM me on Instagram. It's Rebel Style by Tammy Hickey on Instagram. So that's I would say those two ways are primary.
Beautiful. And I'll put that in the show notes too, so it can be really super easy. Both of us like to be on Instagram, so I'll put both of our Instagrams in there. Tammy, it's just been I was so excited to just share this story, share your story with everyone, and it's just been an absolute joy working with you. And I know that there's so much more available and so much more possible. So thank you for coming on here and being so brave and vulnerable and sharing from your heart. I'm sure it has touched many people. Your story.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And oh my gosh, and like I said, an answer to prayer that you and how you've just impacted my life and my
Mm.
journey. It is, I mean, I don't have the words. So
Thank
thank you.
you. Thank you so much. Well, thank you all for who watched, whether you're watching live now or watching the replay. Yeah, like I said, I'll put all the information in the show notes. Please reach out. Let us know, even if you just want to say hi, let us know if something that really resonated. Come follow us on Instagram and let's keep the party going. All right. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you again, Tammy.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.